who came here very early and have been sitting patiently. Charles Owino, former police spokesman, and Joseph Kamau, former DCI boss. They're here. Okiom Tata, hopefully still on his way. Gentlemen, let's look at that graphic right now and let's start the conversation. We're going to put a graphic up right there, and I'll read it to you any second now. And it has to do with Article 37 of the Constitution. You see that? Article 37 says, every person has the right, peacefully and unarmed, to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. The right to assemble is not, though, absolute under the Constitution. Gentlemen, which part of this is one of the shortest articles in the Constitution? Which part of that don't you understand?
I understand it fully.
And yet?
Maybe the politicians and the civilians may not understand it.
Okay, help them understand.
My boss, the DCI, who I worked under and who trained me,
yes,
and I believe we understand it well. And that is why I'm sad when Omutata is not here, because we would have wanted to listen to him. Article 37 of the Constitution is very clear, that every person has a right to assemble, to picket, to present petitions. And they say it must be peacefully and unarmed. Mm-hmm. But this article of the Constitution is operationalized by an act of Parliament, the Public Order Act.
Correct.
This right under Article 37 falls under the Bills of Rights, which was the biggest gain in the Constitution 2010, which we didn't have before. The Bills of Rights also have limitations. You will look at Article 24D of the Constitution, which says that as you enjoy your rights and fundamental freedoms, you don't prejudice rights and freedoms of others. Now, when you go to the Public Order Act, which operationalizes this act, which operationalizes Section 37, Article 37 of the Constitution, it has given procedure in order to ensure that we have public order in event we have demonstrations, we are picketing, we are assembling, or we are presenting petitions. Number one, the officer commanding police station, not the Inspector General, the OCS, within the jurisdiction where you want to act, should be notified 3 days before and not more than 14 days before. The purpose of notification is not just to give you permission. It's for the purpose of creating order. So that that place where you want to assemble, there should not have been another person who booked it to avoid conflict. That route you want to use may be a route. Let's assume you want to use Ngong Road, going to Kamkunji. The police must organize themselves on that particular day to divert traffic. And once you are authorized or you have notified the police 3 days before and not more than 14 days before, the action is supposed to take place between 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, but okay, having said that.
Yes.
Bwana Kamau, having said that, it seems like there's a disconnect between what the police are meant to do and what they are doing.
Jeff, I want to, let me point this out. The whole issue here is peaceful demonstration. I think that's the whole issue. Can we have a peaceful demonstration? And how are you going to have a peaceful demonstration? You see, one of the things that the crowd, first of all, is disorganized itself. In the first place, it's disorganized. It's not organized, it's organized. Yeah. Now, having been disorganized, it means you need to put more effort in making sure that it works. So I'm saying the police must play a bigger role in making sure this works. I'm saying the police must put that role, that to make sure this demonstration is moving in the right direction with cooperation from the organizers. And what does it mean? They need to say how many people are going to be in this demonstration. Is it 500? Whatever they are. When, what, just like Mr. Owino is saying. Once you do that, and the location, you need to know, is it a business district? Is it a city center? Is it residential? What is it? And again, how are we going to make sure you don't have any joyriders inside that demonstration, inside the crowd, that crowd? Because again, what is significant here is that not all demonstrators are demonstrating. Most of them are coming in. There are some who they just hate the police. They join in. They hate the government. They join in, right? So because they're joining in, you must be very, very careful how you handle the whole situation. And that's why cooperating with the organizers is very, very important, because they will also help you to even remove those, the troublemakers from the demonstration. They will help you do that. If you work, you must, it's an effort. It's not, oh, let's do this. It's an effort. You have to work on it. It's not just, okay, fine, you demonstrate. It's an effort you have to put.
But still, you must admit there's a lot of brute force being used by the police on these demonstrators.
Well, the brute force is coming in, is questioning the doctrine of minimum force. That's the doctrine being really challenged here. And you see, what does that mean? Minimum force used to be the force necessary to really effect an arrest or prevent anything occurring. That's how it was. The policing tradition was that, minimum force. Now, all this is being questioned. Well, today, because people are educated today, we have a new constitution, everything is different. So the police must change tact and go, how do we now make sure this works? And how are we going to do that? By really through training. Proper and full training in terms of how do we deal with crowds. You must understand crowd psychology. This crowd, what is it? What is it composed of? I mean, what does it mean? And you yourself, remember, you are training a police officer to face danger. He must go there and face danger. That's the training which is there. So really, and we need to really demystify this, that a police officer is a human being. He's as much afraid as you are. So that means training is very, very significant in terms of making him aware. We are training you to move there and act, and not to use brute force, this brute force. And again, brute force, what do we mean by it? Meaning, you must today work it out that there are other ways you can non-lethal forces you can use. There are many you can use. So deadly force must be your last resort if you're going to use it. Because look at the backlash. It's not good. Nobody wants it. Jeff, nobody's going to work over dead bodies and is happy.
But so far, 24 plus, more than two. Today alone, 6 people were killed.
I agree.
Total, more than 24.
And I say condolences to the families of those people who have died. But training is very significant.
Okay. Jeff, I tend to not so much deviating from what he's saying. But most importantly, what we must ask ourselves is the position in which the police are finding themselves. Are the organizers of these demonstrations civil in themselves? And what is their objective of carrying out this demonstration? Number one, are they ready to follow regulations as they are put? Because if, for example, they notified the police, if they agreed on the routes they want to follow, if they agreed on the timings, remember, Jeff, somebody is bringing his mother from Meru to hospital, or his father or his child, in an ambulance, and you find the road is closed, you will be prejudicing the right of that particular individual. So first of all, before we go to the law enforcers, we must ask ourselves, the organizers of these meetings or demonstrations, are they themselves civil?
But what do you mean by civil?
What I mean is, what I mean is, are they following the regulations as they are supposed to be? Because we must ask yourself, how come the Inspector General is outlawing these demonstrations? But as he says, it is important to understand the psychology of the persons you are dealing with.
But they have a right to picket, don't they?
They have a right to picket, but they must picket within certain regulations. You saw what happened yesterday by midnight in my village. The roads were already closed last night, and they were burning tires. Is that acceptable, Jeff? Is that what the opposition people are supposed to do? To burn tires on the road? That is not the demonstration. Because if that is what you are calling demonstration, then I don't understand what it is. So what we are saying is that, number one, are these people conducting themselves in accordance to the Constitution? Are they peaceful as provided in the Constitution?
And they would argue that they are, and that when the police become violent is when they become violent.
But you look at it this way. Even before the police arrived, you have just been reading the news. Even before the police arrived, they had blocked roads. Even before the police arrived, they had put rocks on the roads. They were burning tires. How do you say they were peaceful? How do you say the police have provoked them? Unless we are blind, unless we don't belong to the country, unless we don't want to understand the situation at which we are. Because he's talked about force. Which force is reasonable? The force is reasonable, and he taught me, the force is reasonable depending on the force against you or the force against the public.
So you say the police it's not brutal force, they're not...
No, I can't say that. I can say it's a setup by the opposition to do wrong things, because the police also have a right to protect you, Jeff.
Okay, gentlemen, take a look at this next clip here.
Yes.
And Kamau, you were talking about joyriders.
Yeah.
Right? Take a look at this clip earlier on where police are masquerading as journalists. You saw that, huh? Masquerading as journalists so that they can go and arrest some guy. And that jeopardizes our role. You know, we didn't know it was the police until he sprung out and rang and captured that guy. And military, the media council has come out and said, you know, this is endangering the lives of journalists. Look at that. Plainclothes guy arresting some guy, and he was hiding amongst journalists. That is simply wrong.
He had a press card?
I don't know if he had a press card, but he was amongst the press.
Yeah,
he was there. He was masquerading.
He had a camera.
He had a camera.
He had a camera.
Photos.
Oh, masquerading as
one of us.
Yes.
So you feel surprised.
So you feel that is putting the journalists at risk, yes, because they may be fought by the common men.
Not only that,
the rioters.
He's probably carrying a gun.
Yes.
And he springs out, he arrests this guy, he bundles him off. I mean, that's not right for us.
Don't you think you are safe with a policeman carrying a gun in between you in such a situation where the public can also turn against you? Don't you think you are safer? Don't you think you are safer with him?
No. We feel, we're being endangered.
Are you sure?
Because we never know when he could turn on us.
I think I've seen journalists walk with police in such situations. Yes. Even in war, we have seen. You don't feel endangered.
Not plainclothes, not plainclothes guys. We don't know who they are. No,
it's part of work. To be in plainclothes is part of work.
Do you agree?
Yeah, you see, it's what I'm talking about. Cooperation, where in a situation like this, the organizers themselves, they must have wardens. They themselves, they must have. And this is what I would advocate. That you as organizers, you have your guys there. Those guys are the ones to really activate the police. Not the other way around. The incognito business right now might create problems because of the situation we are in, because of the Constitution. And I have mentioned, people now know many things. So today you can't dodge people, Jeff. You can't. And the police, we must humble ourselves to the public. Because if the public is not with the police will not. Look, no, the police cannot move without the public, first of all. No case will be solved without the public. Maybe 5%, fewer. So you need the public on your side. And you can only be with the public on your side if you're cooperating like that. And everybody say, man, this is good. But it's okay what is being said, what is being done, incognito, yes, I have caught someone, but really have you? And look again, I'm talking about backlash, and
yes,
it can be really
I have something very interesting.
Go on.
I was in the village the other week when it was just starting, and members of the public, general members of the public, never joined the demonstration in our local center. What happened was the MCAs, 2 MCAs, from my place, went and gathered border riders, took them somewhere next to a small hotel, gave them money. Then they walked about 2 kilometers away. Then they now came carrying placards and demonstrating. There wasn't much. There was no clash between them and the police. But you could see these were not locals who are feeling pressure on any other reason who have come out to demonstrate. These are people who have been paid to go and do a particular work. And these are some of the things that bring conflict in some of these areas. And we must agree as a country. First of all, we must think about our country. We must be patriotic to our country. We must agree that every person has a right to picket, to assemble, to demonstrate. But basically, we must agree. It must be peaceful, and the persons doing it must not be armed. And you can see at midnight in some places, people had already put up the tires, they already had stones, they had already closed the roads, they had already blocked the roads. So the police come to unblock the roads and so on and so forth. And I can tell you, if a peaceful demonstration is undertaken today and people walk to Kamkunji and the opposition leaders address people and people leave peacefully, because these demonstrations have been there before. It's not the first time we're having demonstrations. And sometimes they have been peaceful.
Are you saying they're out of control?
Who?
These demonstrations?
No, they're not out of control. But you see, what we are saying is that the political leaders themselves, they are happy when such things happen. When police kill people, when people die in these situations, then they get more sympathy and they get an opportunity to explain themselves better. They would not encourage peaceful demonstrations because you've never heard them condemn. Even today, you will never hear any of the organizers condemning boys who are blocking roads with stones. So the boys who are blocking the roads with stones, you'll never hear them even go to the road and say, no, gentlemen. For example, if I'm a member of parliament for Embakasi or for Langata, and the boys have closed the roads, I'm an opposition leader, it would be my duty to come out to demonstrate that I believe in peaceful demonstration. Say, gentlemen, please let us not block the roads. Let us not put the stones on the roads. Let us not burn tires. Let's move peacefully and demonstrate, and I will lead you. If that happens, and the police come and disperse people who are peacefully demonstrating, then it would obviously show that the police are not doing anything professional and that they are wrong. But when people have gone to block the roads, people are burning tires on the roads, you are stopping movements, people cannot go to hospital, people cannot go to work, then the police have a right to disperse you.
It seems like you're blaming the protesters. That's what you're doing.
Yes, I am. Because of their actions, not because of the fact that they have gone to demonstrate. If the demonstration is peaceful, the demonstration is unarmed, well and good. But if the demonstration is the way it is, and Jeff, you've seen it, people started burning tires at midnight yesterday. People started blocking roads at midnight yesterday. You can see in many places the motorists are stopped and they are asked for money. It's robbery.
All right, let me take a break from there, Charles and Joseph. We're going to take a break, come back and talk about more. There's an article, Article 245, sub-Article 4, talking about a person cannot give directions to the Inspector General. Cabinet Secretary cannot do that. The Inspector General is supposed to operate independently.
Yes.
But that's not happening in this case. We'll talk about that. And also going forward, what needs to be done? Is it civic education so that the police can now, and protesters can get along? Because it doesn't look like it's getting any better. And more people will die. And it's getting worse. We're talking to former DCI boss Joseph Kamau and former police spokesman Charles Owino here on the bench. Talk about the police and the public. How to mend those fences. Keep tweeting. We still have a bit of more news. Smart Farm is coming up next. A bit of sports. Back to the conversation. Keep tweeting at Kwenanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag.